Imagine waking up to headlines that electric cars are delayed worldwide, not because of oil, but because one country locked up the green metals that make batteries and wind turbines possible.
Wait, we always hear about oil shocks. Are we really heading into a lithium and nickel shock now?
Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe so this kind of deep dive actually shows up in your feed instead of disappearing in the algorithm. The stakes here are huge. Whoever controls green metals like lithium, nickel, and rare earths controls the pace of the clean energy transition, the future of heavy industry, and even parts of modern warfare. This is the Green Blueprint, and today we're asking, Australia, the new source of green energy metals, can it really overcome the old mining giants?
I thought Australia was just about iron ore and coal. Since when did it become a green energy metals story?
Quietly, Australia has become the world's lithium powerhouse, supplying about half of all raw lithium mined globally, even though most of the high-value processing still happens somewhere else, mainly in China. On top of that, Australia officially recognizes 31 different critical minerals, from lithium and nickel to rare earths and cobalt, and it sits on some of the largest reserves of many of them. Global demand for these critical minerals is expected to jump by 400 to 600% by 2040 just for clean energy technologies like EVs, batteries, and renewables.
So if demand is exploding and Australia is loaded with these minerals, why are we still talking about old mining giants?
Because those giants, think BHP, Rio Tinto, Glencore, Vale, built their empires on iron ore, coal, and traditional copper, and they still dominate much of the money, infrastructure, and political influence in mining.
Geopolitically, what's Australia actually trying to do here?
In 2023, Canberra launched a critical minerals strategy all the way out to 2030 with a clear goal: build diverse, resilient supply chains, grow onshore processing, and use critical minerals to help turn Australia into a renewable energy superpower. Since 2019, Australian governments have rolled out at least 17 different critical minerals strategies and together committed around 6.6 billion Australian dollars to support projects, from exploration to early-stage processing hubs.
That's a lot of strategy documents. But does it actually move the needle away from China?
That's the point. China still dominates processing for key minerals, including lithium and rare earths, even when the ore is mined in places like Australia. So Australia is pitching itself to allies, the US, UK, Japan, Europe, India, as the trusted raw materials supplier in a world where nobody wants a single country choke point again. One of the boldest moves is a new strategic reserve of critical minerals, where Australia has even floated the idea of selling stakes in that reserve to allies like the UK in exchange for investment and offtake commitments.
So, almost like an OPEC for green metals, but with shares you can buy into instead of a cartel meeting in Vienna.
Kind of. The message is, if you want secure supplies for your EV factories and defense industries, fund projects here instead of waiting for a crisis.
This all sounds very strategic, but mining is still mining. How green are these green metals in Australia actually?
That's the uncomfortable part. Governments love to market Australia's high ESG standards as a selling point: clean, regulated, reliable. But research shows that while billions are going into industrial upgrading, environmental and social outcomes, including First Nations rights, have not been upgraded at the same pace. Big projects still raise the same questions: water use in dry regions, tailings and waste, impacts on sacred sites, and whether local communities actually get a fair slice of the benefits.
So while politicians call it green development, on the ground it can still look like the old mining model with a new marketing brochure.
Exactly. And for the old giants, there's another layer. Scope 3 emissions. The pollution from customers burning or using what they sell can be 20+ times bigger than their direct emissions, especially for iron ore that ends up in coal-fired steel mills. Companies like BHP, Rio Tinto, and Glencore have net zero targets and pilot projects, but still struggle with concrete Scope 3 pathways because they don't control the steel mills or smelters using their ore.
So how do they actually move from dig it and ship it to something that deserves the label green metals?
One answer is technology, especially in iron and steel. BHP, Rio Tinto, and steelmakers like BlueScope are testing ways to make Pilbara iron ore work in direct reduced iron processes that don't rely on coal and could eventually run on green hydrogen.
At the same time, Australia is finally putting money into domestic processing of critical minerals, refineries for rare earths by Lynas and Iluka, tax credits for onshore processing, and funding for green iron and advanced metals manufacturing under multi-billion-dollar programs like the Green Iron Investment Fund and the Future Made in Australia Innovation Fund.
The idea is simple. Stop being just a quarry and start capturing more of the value chain, from ore to refined metals to even finished components.
But can they move fast enough? Tech takes time, and the energy transition clock is ticking.
That's the tension. Investors want quick returns, governments want local jobs, allies want secure supply, and communities want real environmental safeguards, not just glossy reports.
Economically, is this a once-in-a-generation boom? Or could it crash like previous mining cycles?
Official forecasts already show lithium export earnings rising over the next 5 years as volumes grow and Australia keeps its front-row seat in the battery market. But it's not a straight line. We've already seen painful price swings, especially in nickel, and some Australian operations have come under real pressure when global prices drop. Meanwhile, the old giants are fighting for copper, another critical metal for AI data centers, electrification, and renewables, through mega deals and mergers, because they know their future profits depend on being seen as transition metal champions, not just fossil fuel landlords. In other words, everyone wants to be the hero of the green transition, without losing the cash flows from the old world just yet.
So, if we look ahead to, say, 2040, what are the most realistic futures for Australia in the green metals race?
Scenario 1. Australia becomes the trusted green metals superpower it wants to be. Diversified supply chains, strong environmental standards that are actually enforced, real First Nations partnerships, and a serious chunk of the refining and manufacturing value chain onshore. Scenario 2. It stays mostly a quarry, exporting raw ore, watching others process it and capture the higher profits, while communities wear the environmental impacts for relatively thin margins. Scenario 3. It gets stuck in the middle. Lots of announcements, partial progress, but constant political fights over land, water, and emissions, and never quite escapes dependence on a few big customers or a few volatile commodities.
And where do the old mining giants fit into those futures? Heroes, villains, or just very large, very slow-moving background characters?
That's the twist. Companies like BHP, Rio Tinto, and Glencore could either reinvent themselves as green metals champions or drag their feet, and risk being outflanked by more agile players and stricter climate policies. So, can Australia and its mining heavyweights really overcome the old model and become the backbone of a genuinely green, fair, and secure metals system? The geology is there. The money is starting to flow. The geopolitics are pushing in their favor. But the outcome depends on what happens next. Who owns the processing, who carries the environmental cost, and who actually benefits when the world goes all in on green tech.
What do you think? Will Australia end up as the clean energy arsenal of democracies, or just a slightly greener version of the same old mining story?
Let me know in the comments, because I read as many as I can, and they shape what we cover next.
And if you want more honest deep dives on the future of energy and resources, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of The Green Blueprint.
Thanks for watching. Stay green, stay healthy, stay informed.